breaking down XRP, Ripple, how FedNow, all of this is connected, and maybe what are some of the ripple effects on the market in general. We'll take a look at that on a deep dive. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Before we get started today, we're going to talk about our sponsor. That, of course, is iTrust Capital. Looking at long-term holding, you can do that right there in a crypto IRA. And guess what? You can hold some of these high flyers like Ripple and XRP, and also even Stellar. So there's some options here that you guys, of course, can take. Whether you have an IRA or maybe you've got one outside of iTrust Capital, you can roll those in, or you can start a brand new one. Very easy to do, and of course, no fees in terms of monthly. All you have to do is pay fees for your active trading inside the account itself. So check it out. There's a $100 funding reward by just using our link down below. And check it out. It does help the channel. Let's get into a couple of news items. I want to start with Ripple in general. Some of you maybe some of you are not aware of what's going on with Ripple and the case. I would recommend just take a look at some of our historical videos. That's pretty straightforward. But maybe some of you are brand new to crypto and you're trying to figure out what is Ripple and why is all this hubbub going on. Ripple is really tied to three core things. One, of course, is liquidity. The other aspect of it is CBDCs, which is going to be a big factor here. If you look at their website, accelerating payments, reducing costs, kind of the future of money, their concept. Some people have called them kind of the baker's token. And one of the things that they do get into is CBDCs. Now, how will that play into how Ripple's technology could be used by FedNow? Because remember, it's not necessarily FedNow not on a blockchain, but the cool thing is that there is some technology coming from blockchain companies that will start to flow into a lot of these advanced payment systems worldwide, including central bank digital currencies. So be aware that that is all playing into this. I wanted to go to a report here from Ripple, so just be aware of where it came from. And mainly what I wanted to hit on here was this right here, the business opportunity by 2030 for tokenized assets. Around 16 trillion is what's being estimated. This was Bloomberg estimating that a roughly 4 trillion is locked in private equity and real estate. Real world assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, others can be tokenized as blockchains start to improve efficiencies. This was in this report. And if you scan further on down into the report, there's one really interesting statement right here. Expected usage is going to be very high in the near future. 80% of global finance leaders are likely, let me see if I can zoom in on that for you guys, are likely to be using cryptocurrency, CBDCs, and or stablecoins in their business in the next 3 years. And I'd love to get you guys' feedback. Maybe some of you guys are business owners. And this is a problem that, we as a network have often had. We use a lot of digital and cryptocurrencies right now to transact with partners and even pay our own bills, etc. If we can get people to accept USDC. So I'm kind of curious, if you were a business owner or even an individual and you decided I want to pay somebody, would you do it in CBDC or would you do it in some sort of digital currency that came from your, when I say CBDC, meaning like a USDC transaction, a stablecoin, or would you do it in something like a CBDC that comes from your bank? And how would you play that? Just kind of drop it down below. In other words, do you like your own self-sovereign bank, or would you utilize a bank that's implementing these kinds of technologies? And we'll talk about that in a second, of why and whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because a lot of people would look at that and say, might be bad, Paul, because the banking system's worked on fractional reserve for so long. Now you're going to one-to-one, kind of a different scenario. I'll talk about why that might work in the future. I want to jump over here, of course, to the headline. FedNow early adopter list contains no blockchains, but some may integrate a little bit later. Good thing here is there's a few here that are in there. I want to kind of go in and zoom in on this. Organizations that have completed certifications. You can kind of see the banks right there, the participants: BNY Mellon, Vidia Bank, Bryant, Buffalo Fed. The list is going quite a long ways, and even JP Morgan down here in the list as well. So the point is this is going to happen, and it's going to start moving into the banking system as a whole. FedNow right now is for international payments, more institutional, moving money around. Think of it that way. So almost instantaneous movement. The likelihood of this getting to retail is real. The question will be, how do they take the track? If stablecoin bills actually get, through Congress and we get them passed, that could shift the dynamic in the banking system of how to use stablecoins and CBDCs in the future. And it could also help generate a lot of interest in the area of the retail investors, such as guys like us, people like us. And think of that as our own self-sovereign bank, people who like to do self-custody. Maybe you like holding stablecoins, which, by the way, do you hold stablecoins on any of your wallets? You know, if you're doing self-custody, hardware wallets, software wallets, do you hold stablecoin right now as opposed to US dollars? Love to get your feedback on that. And if you like these kind of breakdowns, make sure and hit the like button. It is one of the ways that it spreads the word. It helps other people start to learn about this technology. Because right now, if you're not aware of this technology, especially if you're younger, I should say, under the age of 30, because a lot of you did not learn about finance in high school or even college. This is getting ready to flip the finance world upside down. And I think a lot of banks are starting to realize the track. We're starting to see the pushback because of the global pressure that we've already seen in Europe and in Hong Kong, as well as Asia. We're going to see, I think, a big transformation on digital assets in the future. Now, part of this is all built around how this may interact with our everyday needs. Here's a tweet right here, and this, of course, is talking around the ISO 2022. And there's a handful of tokens that are ISO 2022. Go look at that list, go research it, follow those, and you'll probably see why some of those are pumping today. FedNow receives, fees are waived now for 2023 participation. So that's the beauty of getting people all looped in, free till later, and then everybody starts to initiate. So right now, FedNow service pricing, $25 monthly service fee waived in 2023, no money per transaction, 0.045 customer credit transfer fee, discounted on the first 2,500 customer credit transfers for big companies that are using this. This is be insane not to utilize FedNow. And I think these are the ones that worry me the most, is when you see these kind of initiations. Granted, it's a new system and it could have a huge effect on business in general. But I think if we could just get USDC or stablecoins in general accepted at banks so that I could hold those and be able to transact on our own, that will be the real question mark. And there's two things that could happen here. Part one is that we get the regulation for stablecoins. That changes the financial dynamic around the United States, really worldwide. Part two would be that the banks have to shift away from fractional reserve, what they've essentially been doing for the last 20 years. And that is really kind of, I'll say, taking advantage of your dollars that you put in and they lend it out 10 times. And have to go to a one-to-one. And this is something that Caitlin Long talks about often, about trying to get new banks to be true one-to-one, but it changes the way in which banks earn money. Instead of fractional reserve and they're monkeying around with money over here, going a one-to-one and they're charging fees. Now, I'd love to know, which one would you like to do? Would you pay a fee, $100 a month, to a bank to be able to hold stable coins, transact in digital currencies, all of that? Would you pay those kind of fees? Because that may be what is coming toward us, especially as we start to see FedNow roll out. Here's another quick, they were showing kind of the same thing we were talking about earlier, but FedNow launching July 20th, over 100 banks. XRP XLM will be used to facilitate the blockchain aspect of their FedNow payments. I don't know if that's true. I'd look more on the Ripple technology as the backbone of how this will work. XRP and XLM Stellar will benefit from that just because of the awareness around it. But you can kind of see this was a pretty significant list all the way back into organizations, banks, the J through S organizations. You can kind of see just all of the amount of people that are coming into this. Pretty deep. Further into this, I want to get into a couple of points here. This is an article right here, Ripple partnering among U.S. firms piloting the Federal Reserve's FedNow. Can it help XRP and ODL? A couple of things here. Ripple's integrated partners is a key component for FedNow's operation. That's, of course, CGI and Volante, which we've talked about here on the show before. And then as of June 29th, Fed will confirm 57 initial adopter entities, including financial institutions, service providers, have all completed the formal testing and certification. So I've been a little bit surprised and I guess impressed to a certain extent because I like technology, but I've been very surprised at how fast this is rolled out. This will be a big, big test on the success of FedNow in its use case. If this actually works to the level that we think it's going to work, then this will be huge. And all of this is really kind of related to one thing, and that's the interface with Ripple and how this will tie into kind of the use case of, international payments and also institutional and large corporations being able to move really at lightning speed. Volpay is another one I want to talk about, which is Volante. This is one of the other ones that we mentioned. Volpay, of course, cross-borderless payments. They're already moving into this direction. You'll notice some big names there: Swift, Ripple, Visa B2B, Visa Direct. And that's another area that I think is going to continue to grow. We've talked about this many times, of Visa's movement into this space. We will see every major credit card company moving into this space because they can't avoid it any longer. And there's a big reason why. And that is that their business model of yesterday is starting to disappear tomorrow. And that's the same scenario playing out for banks right now. So it is going to get very interesting. I think that banks realize there is a transition afoot, and they're going to be playing on both sides of the fence, kind of like a monkey from one vine to the other. They're going to play over here in, unfortunately, the poor, because those are going to be the ones that they'll take advantage of, and I say banks in general. And then there's going to be the adopters and the future digital natives of blockchain, stable coins, digital assets, NFTs, all those kind of things. They need to be there for the growth, especially on a global scale. So projects like Volante, again, will be part of that. And of course, they talk a little bit about it here. Consumers and businesses want better, faster cross-border payments. I would like that 24/7. Banks must improve their cross-border services. They've already talked about this. And then how that might work allows banks to realize these opportunities in this fast-growing market. Back to my point of why banks are trying to figure out how to get this done so quickly. Because now, finally, legislation may be moving ahead. Typically, legislation lags so slowly, but there's so much pressure, mainly because of the pressure of the global nations starting to move in this direction and putting a lot of pressure on the United States that I don't think the U.S. really was ready for so quickly. Let me go over here and jump to just Volante in general. I want to play a quick clip of theirs so you kind of see how this will be impacting these banking institutions.
From international trade to global e-commerce, our world has never been so connected. But business can only move at the speed of money. And today's traditional correspondent banking model is slow, expensive, and inflexible. To truly deliver modern cross-border payments capabilities, providing real-time 24/7 services with greater visibility to a wide range of customers, banks need to modernize the traditional correspondent banking model. However, because of legacy systems, the cost of innovation and regulatory compliance is high. How can you modernize quickly and at low cost without compromising on the quality of your service offering? With Volante, Volante overcomes these challenges by enabling your bank to access a full range of always-on cross-border payment, clearing, and settlement mechanisms. Their cloud-native cross-border payment solution integrates easily with any core banking systems to deliver efficient, fast, and transparent cross-border payment services on multiple networks. From traditional SWIFT to GPI and SWIFT Go, plus Ripple, Visa B2B, and Visa Direct, MasterCard Send, and many more. Volante's service lowers your processing costs.
All right, so you can see there was the integration in with a lot of the recognized names in the industry that you guys are starting to understand this shift that is underway right now. FedNow will be part of it. Obviously, what this is happening, Volante, not a sponsor. We're just going through and diving into this data and into these insights. But I think, again, guys, this is really the reformation of the banking system globally. And the opportunity is starting to present itself. And I think now there's a bit of a scramble going on. That's why you see so many projects and banks jumping into this space so quickly. It's why you see BlackRock going after an ETF. It's why you see 21 Shares, ARK, and almost every major institutional capital firm out there rolling into ETFs. Again, that's a Bitcoin ETF, but others are coming. And the alignment around this will be toward banks. It's also why I think Fidelity may be one of the key players here to watch very closely as we see things go forward. Now, we've been tracking XRP and Stellar, XLM, in our power index for quite some time. Now, one thing about both those tokens, obviously XRP, quite a bit of suppression, mainly because of what has been going on with the SEC. That, of course, has changed dramatically with this recent ruling by Judge Torres. But with XLM, they are an equally interesting token, and it's one of the things that we've looked at over time, and XLM has continued to slowly track up in terms of overall sentiment. And as of just this last week, we started to see some double-digit moves on XRP, for obvious reasons, but also for XLM. Again, all this ties into the technology that is moving forward here on how these banks are going to use it. And think of it this way. The banking system has been operating for 3 decades on technology that essentially is 3 decades old. All of these new blockchain derivative type technologies are now giving them a new lease on how to access this digital liquidity, but also these digital tool sets that are going to give them all sorts of new products and services that they can go out there and peddle to you, the customer. So remember, again, self-sovereign and also self-custody is one of the biggest things I'm a big proponent of. But the key is, will they let us work with them? And that will be something that will be interesting, is if you can plug your different hardware wallets into your bank software application in the future to be able to transfer funds directly to, or if you have to do something like just a regular blockchain transfer. A couple of other things here on Volante Technology, shaping the future of instant payments. Part of FedNow SM service, their service program. They're bringing control, convenience, certainty, American consumers and businesses. If these guys roll out, Volante will be a big part of this. And of course, Ripple is in there and as the Ripple processor module. So again, another reason why we'll continue to see growth with Ripple. And all this also points to Ripple's future success. But the big one, and the one that I think matters the most, is that Ripple is going to start doing this with American companies. Now that they've got a little bit of a monkey off their back, they're going to initiate, and now they have the reason to initiate a lot of new partnerships. And I think, I heard this on a couple of podcasts this week, is from attorneys that looked at this, and they even say, these attorneys and a lot of these legal pundits, saying that this now is better than a 50% potential opportunity for Ripple and all of these different companies, including banking and also investment capital, to move forward with their roadmaps. So think of it in terms of altcoins, different type of digital assets, NFTs, brands will start flowing into this. There's just so many. If you guys have not watched our Ripple Effect videos, go back and watch them. We just did them earlier this week, and we did one last week. And it kind of breaks down kind of the things that are going to be really affected over the next few years. So definitely huge happening. And of course, this right on the heels, FedNow, right on the heels of the XRP ruling. Here's an interesting point. I thought this was intriguing. I did some research on Volante Tech, put this image together, which show you guys some insights on how they can settle payments with Ripple Net. And then, of course, XRP and other payment rails. And you can kind of see the framework here. I'll just jump down here. Lots happening here with Volpay and how it ties into the current banking system. And again, this is old legacy systems. I know a lot of this is really geeky for you guys. What it boils down to is that our money system is getting an overhaul right now. And blockchain and a lot of these related companies, including stablecoins and CBDCs, eventually will be part of this overhaul. This is why is digital asset holding and also betting on a lot of these new technologies, whether it's ETH, whether you look at XRP, Stellar, others like that are moving in different layers. All of this is moving into one place. And that is, think about this, with USDC as a stablecoin, if we get a passage of that, what does that affect the most of? It starts to apply into ERC20. ERC20 being what? Ethereum. Ethereum is starting to affect all these other trickle-down aspects of technology, everything from layer 2, transaction volume, all those things start to come together. That's why I think we are in a very, very interesting time right now. This next bull run is going to be one that I think will be pretty huge for opportunities. So a couple of other things here. Bill bringing strict rules to cryptocurrencies now has been submitted to the U.S. Senate. We'll be covering this. Again, we talked about this earlier, and we've been doing, by the way, if you haven't followed our playlist on all of our hearings, we actually have a full playlist down in our YouTube page where you can get access to all of our breakdowns of the hearings. It'll catch you up really quick of understanding what's happening. This was a new bill prepared by the U.S. Senate, shared some of the rules in the bills with its leaders. Decentralized finance protocols will have an app to apply like bank-like rules to their users, according to this new 23 date. CoinDesk reached the bill called Crypto Asset National Security Enhancement Act. This is another one that's starting to broil. It is emphasized that these rules are critical to fight against crypto crimes, money laundering. Of course, again, biggest money laundering asset out there is US dollar. If a DeFi protocol is not controlled by anyone, then anyone who has invested more than 25 million in the development of the protocol will be liable for these obligations. This is a big one as well, going after the DeFi sector, so you can start to see the pressure that this technology is putting on society as a whole. And I think it's a big one that we'll continue to see a lot more interest in. U.S. lawmakers now proposing SEC Chair Gensler's legislation, not enforcement approach to crypto. We talked a little bit about what Richie Torres is doing there. A couple of tweets here. SEC cannot continue to regulate by enforcement. I think a lot of this is now piling on, mainly because of what happened with the recent ruling by Judge Torres. But I think this is getting into a state right now where a lot of things are about to change pretty big. This, of course, we showed earlier, but after the Ripple decision, it's critical that Gary Gensler engage with Congress to ensure digital asset users are protected. Legislation would do a lot more to prevent the future collapse of digital asset firms and enforcement actions further. And they get into that. This was the letter that we showcased about how that's going to change the future there. And I think this is all benefiting, a great movement in the aspect of digital assets in general, of just really trying to understand what they are and how they'll be used. But I think right now, lawmakers have finally started to get into a position where they're a little bit more caught up. Another story right here, NASDAQ suspends the launch of its own cryptocurrency custody, which is interesting and intriguing in a way that almost, if you'll remember, almost all of the ETF filings were using Coinbase as their security for custody. So is there something there that maybe is playing out in Wall Street? Are there some deals being struck? I don't know, but this is just kind of unusual that they mentioned this. During the Q2 call, NASDAQ postponed the launch of its digital asset custody business due to regulatory risks. This quarter, considering the shifting in business regulatory environment, United States, we've made the decision to halt our launch of the U.S. digital assets custodian business. But at the same time, you've got the case with Coinbase going on right now that most likely under these new rulings is going to win. So how does this not play into a great opportunity for someone like NASDAQ? So I don't know. I'd love to see if there's other alternatives that are happening right now, because this is Wall Street. Nobody does this just out of the blue. There's a reason. Let's see here. What else do we have? Breaking Bitcoin ETFs moving closer to approval. SEC is listing 8 applicants on the register. We mentioned this earlier. The fact that we just have them listed on the register is, I think, a good sign. Doesn't mean they're going to get approved, but it does mean that they're being addressed. And now we're in for the next state. Many people still are on the fence as to whether or not Bitcoin's ETF does get approved. Question will be, do they approve all of them at one time? Do they look at that date signal and approve by the date? That could be interesting. Or even disapprove by the date, because that could be another, because people will look at refiling and trying to adopt to whatever new change or the SEC's requirements are to get that done. It's important to note that being listed on the Federal Register does not guarantee approval. Nevertheless, move by SEC is significant and marks a departure of the regulatory historical rejection, which is unique because most of the time they don't list them on the register, they just reject them. And it should be emphasized that the review process can be lengthy and complex. Ultimately, the decision to approve or reject the applicant lies solely with the SEC. So we know that. I've often questioned whether or not this black eye on the SEC for what happened in the Ripple case, does that hurt us or does it help us? Maybe it's the turning point for the SEC to simply say, okay, we understand now we're going to have an uphill battle. And let's go ahead and play nice or get into a political position because we can gain a little bit of power. So it's kind of like a war. You've lost a lot of power here, maybe to the CFTC, and that's been a little bit of a grudge match. Or do they look at how do we position politically to start to slowly gain access or other, governing rights to what's happening in digital assets. Lots happening right now. Excited to share the Honeycoin app. Users can now cash out of their USDC balance at supported MoneyGram locations. Again, this goes for international payments. This is stellar. Another reason that, digital assets and global liquidity are a big deal. And it's a real world use case for USDC on Stellar. That is, again, a bigger part of this because this is a much more global aspect. So love to know if you guys have ever used it. Now, we have a lot of audience outside the United States. India, one of our biggest countries. We've got a lot of audience in Asia, also in Europe. How are you guys using these? And are you using some of these technologies? Let me know. Drop some comments down below. It does kind of give us some insights on what's happening there. Here's Jeremy Allaire, this, of course, CEO of Circle. Comes in and says, USD continues to gain traction as fast as low-cost layer one for digital dollar payments around the world. USDC could be on the loose here. But again, remember, they had been losing ground mostly to Tether because of a lot of the lockdowns that were happening from the SEC. That may be changing now. Does USDC gain a little bit of traction or ground back on Tether will be the question. And if we get a regulatory bump, does that change the strategy for Tether on how they would be dealing with U.S. participants that are holding Tether? Because that might benefit a U.S. participant if they're holding now USDC versus Tether. So there's a lot that could be happening here, especially if a USDC becomes the token of choice on any exchange out there that has now been approved to sell these digital assets like a Coinbase, and a Kraken, a Gemini, etc. Here's the last one. This came from Jeff XRP. For some reason, Metal was removed from the FedNow website. Interesting. I feel sorry for these guys since they really touted it the last couple of weeks. This has to be a big blow. So there's a few that are being kind of weeded through at this point. The question will be is who are the final players? That's fine. There's going to be a lot of tech that's going to roll into this. And of course, I don't know that, again, I'm not sure that I am pro this use. I'm more pro sovereign. And when I say sovereign, meaning as the system starts to accommodate for these big shifts, there's going to be an opportunity there for sovereign holding, becoming your own bank. And I think that will be the big question mark because we aren't to that tug of war just yet, but I think we could be getting there. So be on the lookout for your banks, how they're managing stablecoin, USDC most likely, how they're dealing with FedNow in the future, how they're dealing with, if you're a Fidelity user, how are they dealing with your wallet of your Bitcoin and your Ethereum that are sitting inside, Fidelity's accounts. Can you move them in and out? That's going to be the big factor, I think, that will start to move this one way or the other. One of these banks and one of these major houses, they're going to break rank. And I just don't know who it's going to be yet. But one of them is going to break rank, and they're going to figure out the solution of, I'm going to play in both sandboxes. One sandbox, getting all these fees over here, or all my fractional reserve fees, and then the other sandbox, getting all my fees of my one-to-one and this free flow of ownership assets in and out. All right, we're going to go over to our poll real quick. And could XRP flip Tether market cap? Wow, this is crazy. 84% of you think that. Tether's market cap, that's an insane market cap. I mean, you're talking about a global. Now, granted, I get it. There's some potential there, but what would that put XRP at? I'd have to go to the crypto pit for that to see what the rate of what XRP would be trading for. Few questions here. Let's see. XRP a sidechain of Cardano? No way. I believe XRP will flip ETH market cap in due time. Interesting. CCIP, Chainlink. We did a big video on that yesterday. That's a big deal. Chainlink is a big deal. You guys need to check that project out. And just the advancements that Chainlink has made. It's also on our CPI. We've been tracking for quite a while. It is one I hold. Do you own XRP? Yes, I own XRP. Have for a very long time. Explain the 20% pumps today on XRPL and Sologenic. Well, XRPL, yes, mainly because of the FedNow connection. And of course, Stellar the same way there. And it's Paul, do you hold HBAR? I've held it before. I don't currently hold HBAR. For Hedera, I like the project. I'm in and out of it, but I mostly trade it. It's not something that I'm thinking, hey, this is going to regenerate. However, they do have some interesting aspects of how they're partnering with some of the biggest companies in the world. And we've had HBAR on our show many times. Go check out our videos. You'll learn a little bit there. Thanks for the super chat, Anu. Appreciate that. Your tax return will come faster. Yes and no. Stellar is pumping more than XRP. In my opinion, it's a better risk to reward investment. I don't know about that, but I like Stellar. I don't own any, but it's an interesting one. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's go down to Magic Works. Stellar, XRP, Polygon, all CBDC capable. Yes. And then I like that one. Anyway, all right, you guys are always funny in the comments down below. We love that, and we love the feedback from the audience. So if you're not tuned into our live streams, do it. All you have to do is click that little bell. You'll get notified when we do these live streams like this. We're trying to get back to doing more live streams, but we've been doing mostly pre-records just because of studio time and dropping them for you guys. But we do, because the research is so lengthy to get to these, and then you have to kind of digest all this stuff and get it out there. But anyway, get to the live streams, hit that little bell, subscribe to the channel. It is the number one thing. And if you want people to really understand what's going on, hit the like button before you leave and refer this video to someone that maybe you know that's maybe getting into crypto for the first time. Hopefully this gets them on their journey and down the rabbit hole. That's the main thing. If you're not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. It's our free tool. It also gives you additional content that doesn't come here on YouTube, and it's very easy. You use the link down below. And of course, catch me out there on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.